Side of the road welder. You really can't make this stuff up. Looks like most of it's there. Looks like all my leads are still hooked up, or my contact switches. Oh, I even got my dial in the front. Just don't have leads. My switch is hanging out right here. I bet you we can fix it. It obviously took a decent tumble and was dragged out of the row, but I think we can fix it up. Let's do an assessment, see what we're missing, see what's broken, what's dented, what needs to be replaced. But it shouldn't cost us much to put it back together and make a usable welder. But just a rough look, it looks like our windings are okay. That's the heavy part. And it looks like we just got a couple broken wires. This one's to a welding lead. This one is to one of our temperature / amperage selections. And this one goes to the other lead. And then these two will go to a fan. We're missing the entire fan assembly, which isn't a big deal. Just kind of blows air when it's on over the aluminum windings in here. And then a power cord that connects here and here, giving us the 240 volts is missing. And then an entire plate that comes up and then dives in is missing, as well as a center plate. You can see the screw holes that holds the fan that just blows directly down. Sucks air in from here across these and out through the bottom. Some decent dents, you know. It's a pretty basic thing. We can pound most of these out. Somebody actually cut off all the welding leads and are happy with the $2.75 scrap value in welding leads, and along with the power cord, so they're doing really well. This is actually a newer model. The easiest way to tell models is by how they attach this faceplate. The newest models have little black plastic pins holding in here. Sometime in the 90s and through like 1980 through mid 90s, these were white plugs, and 70s and pre, generally they're actually sheet metal screws. It's kind of the easiest way to tell. There was a time that these two ports right here were just switched on their side in the 60s or something else like that. But this is a newer model, probably under 10 years old, or right at about 10 years old. We could look up the serial number and confirm that, but it's really not that important. Take a look at the windings real close, make sure nothing's damaged. It looks like some of the shellac has come off, but that doesn't really matter. So I think they intentionally paint it this copper color, the shellac, to make people think, if they ever open it up, that it's copper inside. Yep, they're just aluminum. It's just a flat sheet of aluminum they roll around to make the windings. But it looks like it's just peeled off the outside, just doesn't matter. You know, don't touch the outside. I can put some spray paint or something over it if I really care, but you're not reaching your hand in there. I mean, this is all exposed hot. It's probably the worst of it right there. But if it is impacted, it only shorts out the last two windings together, which would reduce the amperage a little bit, but I don't think so. I'll pry that up just a little bit, but I don't think that's shorting out. These are our main leads where the power comes in for 240, and they actually look fine. They're a little bent up, but I'll inspect them for cracks and stuff. Oh, they're running the fan off 240 volt. I don't know if I have a 240 volt then. We may have to run this off. The old school ones, you just use one leg and you just use the ground wire for the other leg to get 120 volt. I'm sure I have a 120 volt fan sitting around, so we may need to rewire that. Not a big deal. Thought we only had one broken off, but apparently two, unless one was really loose and it broke off and I didn't notice. So it's just crimped and soldered, it looks like. and I'm not exactly sure which one goes to which, but one is longer than the other, so it makes perfect sense that the shorter one goes to the closer one, and the longer one goes to the longer one. The wires go up in size as they go around because they carry more amperage, but these wires are actually the exact same size. What are they? 8 gauge. So we'll just slide the wire in there, crimp that little tab back down, throw some solder on it. We'll be good. So the transformer's right there, and that metal plate on the bottom is how it attaches. So we're going to actually use, I don't know if they're stripped out really, so we're just going to use some heavy duty sheet metal screws, bolts. There we go. That's how it attaches on the front, and then there's the same thing on the back, but we need to make a back plate. We got one huge dent right here. This is from the edge of the transformer coming and hitting right there. I gotta see if I can pound that back in just a little bit. Okay, I went through my scrap pile and see what I had just laying around, and this is the fan I have laying around. It's really similar to what's already, the what came in there, and most of them are actually 120 volts if I think right. Only the newer ones are 240 volts, but I'm going to wire this up in here to the switch. We still need a power cord. I actually have a drill press with a cord that's way too long. This drill press right here has a cord that's way heavier duty than it needs to be and probably way too long. So we'll just cut some of this off of it. You only need, these welders only actually came with 12 gauge wire for their extension cords to begin with. But this, I think this is actually probably 10. So we'll cut off 6 feet of this and attach it to that. I'll just touch for a split second on wiring. So all we have to have going into the welder is 3 wires. Welders don't go by the same codes that dryers and ranges and other stuff in your house do. So they get to skirt a lot of the regulations. And one of those is you can use 3-prong things. And so I can get 120 volts. So you got 240 volts coming in here. If I take off one leg and put another one to the ground, I can get 120 volts. That's something you can do on old school dryers and stuff like that. They've since eliminated that, but it's still legal and it's still okay. You just shouldn't do new stuff that way. Anyway, so I got a plug here. I'm going to wire in a dryer plug, and usually when you buy these plugs, sometimes they come with 2 different blades. So this would be the 50 amp version, usually for an old school like oven, and this is for a dryer. Probably up until probably 15 years ago, this is the plug for a dryer. I like to put those on welders just because if I get rid of them, that's what most people want to use it off, is an old dryer outlet. But you get hot, and this is actually your ground slash neutral. You can get 120 volts going this way, or 120 volts going this way, or 240 volts going this way. They since have eliminated that and have done something like this for your ranges and even your dryers in people's houses. So you got hot. This is your neutral, where you can get 120 volts here, 120 volts here, 240 here. And this is dedicated ground that is nothing but ground. Even though ground and neutral go to the same place, I'm not going to get into it, but that's new school stuff. But welders and stuff never use that. And most of the time they actually come, even if you buy a brand new one, they'll come with a plug like this, which is just a hot, and a shared neutral ground. But brand new ones will come with these days. Like I said, welders don't follow the same rules as everybody else. Okay, that's all wired up. Now I'm going to try something I've never tried before. I'm going to let you guys know how it goes. The welding leads on this are completely missing, and that is a huge cost. If I go out and buy just, usually I think it was a 12 foot or 15 foot on the positive side, or on the Stinger side, and 10 foot on the ground side, something about that, about 25 feet. I'm going to spend 150 bucks just on leads for this that are roughly 4 or 6 gauge, something else like that. I am going to use this. This is called CCA wire. It's copper coated aluminum. Essentially, it's aluminum wire, but it's dirt cheap. This is 25 feet of wire was under 15 bucks from Amazon, delivered. And the thing about aluminum wire is it does not, this is mainly meant for like audio stuff. I'm going to try it out. It does not carry as much amperage as copper. So this 4 gauge is at least 6 gauge equivalent. Probably a little bit heavier, closer to, there's not really a 5 gauge, but a 5 gauge wire. And so I'm going to try it out, see if it works, because it's dirt cheap. Okay, so I took my multimeter and just went through, made sure that the windings, when they shifted and this thing banged around, there's actually a dent on the edge, didn't short to the winding case. And no, so everything tests good. Everything is wired up. This is what before I build the back and stuff like that, I want to make sure it actually works. The windings aren't, you know, because if the windings are toasted, they're toasted. If I plug this in and this thing blows a hole in it, then it's not even worth fixing. So I've done all the work up to now for no reason. Everything's wired up though. We can plug it in and we can actually throw down a bead of weld and see if it works. I did put a ground clamp on. This is just some random clamp I had laying around. It might have actually been from a heavy duty pair of jumper cables, but got that brand new Stinger, and we'll just plug it in and go from there. It's plugged in. Moment of truth. Works. The fan kicked on. Oh, that pumps out actually a lot of air. So that's just fine. I can hear the transformer humming just a little bit. Looks like I got a teeny piece of 6011. Put it at, I don't know, 135. I welds like the dozens and dozens of Lincoln tombstones I've had weld. Just running through all the settings, everything seems to be working good. We got it cranked all the way up to 225. Cable's not getting warm. Performing great. Okay, the back cover, I'm going to do it differently than they've been doing it for the past 50 years. So I have the last one I restored. I went through this one on a video and completely restored this one. And in the back of all of these, they have a pointless step. You think you can store something there or something, but you can't really. I guess you kind of set your gloves back there, but I've seen people try to put a wall, make a cubby, but it's pointless. So I'm going to just come all the way up the back and not worry about this step because nobody ever uses it and it's pretty pointless. So we're just going to take a piece of sheet metal right here, cut it up, and bring it all the way up the back. And normally the fan mounts to a level, another piece of steel that goes across here. I'm just going to mount it to the back. I already have this tab. I'm just going to mount it to the back plate right here, and you'll just mount it up just like that. No big deal. So let's cut this out, and I'm going to show you how to bend sheet metal without a break as well. So because we got to bend the edges in so we have tabs to screw it to. Okay, this is my back panel. I need to bend in about an inch on each side, and I need a nice crisp line. So I drew my line, and all I'm going to do is take my angle grinder and run it down and only cut, you know, a third to halfway through, and then it'll bend like butter. You'll see. The longer you leave this piece, the easier it is to bend because you got leverage. We'll just use the pliers all the way down. Now the adjustable wrench. And that'll give me something to screw to. But look at that edge. I mean, it's as straight as I ran it down, but see the I left this one's long enough to give me enough leverage, just probably bend. Yeah. See? Boom. And same with this one. Okay, I'm gonna spray paint the back of this just flat black. I'm not restoring it. I've restored tons of these. This one is too new to restore. It's not worth it. So I'm just gonna actually spray paint the back flat black, and then I'll just start screwing it on. And that's about it. It's not that crucial where the fan and stuff goes. I'll just that looks good. There's white overspray all over it. I think it's latex paint. I got most of it off with acetone. But there's little spots that kind of stick in a credit card. I think I got it cleaned up so you can see the scratches. This is all scratched up. There's the big dent where the transformer hit. You know, there's a bunch of scratches around it. Looks like it should. Well, it looks just fine. There's just no shelf in there like we originally had. It's all back together. I think I'm gonna take a little bit of paint and just try to touch up some of these. I have a paint that's really close to this, just spray paint, kind of touch up some of these bigger spots, but it's never gonna be perfect. Not bad for a roadside welder. I don't even know what that fan came out of, but it sounds exactly like it should. I want to say it was like a range hood, but it seems too small for that. Let's bond this to this. Thing welds beautifully. So these cables are handling it just fine. It's just weird, they're so light. If you were doing a lot of jobs, I'm gonna say aluminum cables would save you a lot of fatigue if you're just dragging heavy cables around. Just give me the clamp. Give me the clamp. Yep. Get over here. Get here. Get over here. Come on. Good job. Let's weld. And then this is 6011. Hey, are you paying attention to me? Hey, are you paying attention at all? Sometimes it's so frustrating. I think your mind is on other things. Yeah, let's see if we can strike something on 40. Should be able to get it to strike on 40. The lower the amps, the harder it is to strike something.